Good afternoon and welcome to today's session of Imagine America Radio, our continuing Career College Exposition webinar series. My name is Lee Doubleday and I'm the Director of Operations here at the Imagine America Foundation. I'm excited about today's topic, which is Alternatives to Traditional Education, sponsored by Universal Technical Institute, or UTI. UTI is this country's leading provider of high-quality career-focused education at 16 locations nationwide. UTI is also a 22-year sponsor of the Imagine America Scholarship and Award programs, having provided admissions-based financial aid to more than 17,000 enrolling Imagine America students. But without taking valuable time out of our presenter, let me refer any and all inquiries about the Imagine America Foundation and our scholarship programs to our website, which is www.imagine-america.org. But since our beginning in 1999, Imagine America remains a leading sponsor of scholarship aid to enrolling high school students. However, our country faces a serious shortage in certified technicians. And we hear from employers in virtually all sections of the country desperately looking for qualified employees. So we need to do more. Our partner in today's presentation, again, is Universal Technical Institute. And joining us today to discuss in detail the looming technician shortage and how UTI is helping meet this need is Dr. Stephen Coyle. Dr. Coyle is a nationally recognized expert in this area with an extensive K-12 background. But before turning the program over to Dr. Coyle, let me outline today's agenda. Today's session of Imagine America Radio will be 30 minutes maximum, with question and answers at the end of the presentation. All participants can submit questions while this presentation is in session via the Q&A feature or the chat feature in this Zoom meeting. So at any time during this presentation, please feel free to type any questions you may have in there, because at the end of the presentation, we will then present any questions offered by the participants. We'll address as many as possible, provide written responses and follow-up emails if necessary. But we will have a hard close at 2:30 p.m. So without taking any more time out of today's presentation, let me turn today's session over to Dr. Stephen Coyle. Dr. Coyle, the floor is yours.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Lee, for that introduction. It's exciting to be back and doing the webinars again this year. We've been doing these now for several years and feel like we're getting good messages out to all the school counselors. So thank all of you for joining me. So let's get right into the presentation. I don't waste any time here. We're going to jump right into what's going on in the world today right now with post-secondary education. As you can see on the screen, and you can look this up in about any periodical, college enrollments are dropping right now, expected to be about 10 to 12% this year. We're also seeing an enrollment drop in community colleges too. But where we're not seeing a drop and actually seeing a growth is in skilled trades and in trade schools like Universal Technical Institute. That's, it's something we need to be paying attention because the world is changing. Our outlook, we've had this myth of university for all for many years, and that myth seems to be going out the window, so to speak. We're actually seeing more and more students wanting to get into a skilled trade, something where they can go to school for a shorter period of time and yet get the skills that they need to be successful in a career. According to a survey by Stanley, Black & Decker, 85% of young people value a skilled trades career, but only 16% are very likely to consider such a career. Now, that's an astounding difference in percentages. You might say, well, why is that? Well, we start off with the fact that a lot of our students today and our young people, they don't have an accurate idea of what skilled trades are and what the required skills are. That's because we're not giving it its due diligence. We're spending so much time getting kids prepared for college, but we're not spending the same amount of time getting students prepared to go into skilled trades. We're not exposing them to enough to what is out there available to them. So that's one issue. The other issue is we're coaching them out of it. We're telling them, hey, oh, you don't want to go that route. You could make more money doing this, or you could, have a better career doing that because you're going to need that bachelor's degree. And that's just not a viable answer, I guess I might say. It's just not there. So the other thing is underrepresentation of women in the skilled trades. Right now, about 27% are involved in STEM skills, and that is not that's not a very high percentage. At UTI, we only have about 4% of our female population, or of our population is female. That is that's kind of astounding, and we're trying to do something about that. And we'll talk about that more here in just a little bit. In alternatives to traditional education, we have to remember what employers are looking for. They are looking for skills. That's the bottom line. What do you bring to the table? Any employer is looking for that. You as school counselors, you have a specific set of skills, which is what makes you a great counselor. Not everybody has those skills. And so we have to think in terms of what kind of skills do we need? Well, to succeed in the modern economy today, we need two types of skills. We need hard skills, which is working on cars, working on trucks, working on welding, plumbing, working on houses, working on, all appliances, things like that. Those are the hard skills. It's not hard to identify them, but it's the soft skills that employers are not seeing enough of. The professionalism, the work ethic, the communication skills. We all have seen this with students now, that they have their head buried in their phone. They want to Snapchat, they want to text, they want to Instagram. They don't know how to communicate as far as just like oral communication with each other or written communication other than texting. They're short on those skills. One of the things that we work on at UTI is to develop those skills, because they're going to need them when they're dealing with customers like that. So anyway, skills are very important, but we have to remember that there are two types of skills out there. We have to address both. This is a real interesting slide to me, because what it shows is the disconnect between how an employee feels about himself and how the employer looks at the employee. For instance, professionalism and work ethic. We see that the employer rated them at a 42.5%, almost 43%. The employer, or the employee, sorry, getting those backwards, the employee is looking at themselves that they're almost 90%, have a professionalism, work ethic. So that's huge. That's quite a difference in numbers. So, another example is oral written communications. The employer says, well, about 42%. The employee saying, well, I think I'm about 80%. That's pretty good. And where's this coming from? Well, I have a theory that I think it goes back to, when people are young and, they start getting involved in activities, there's no losers. Everybody has to win. Everybody gets a ribbon. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody's told how wonderful they are. Nobody's told the truth. Losing, just isn't discussed. And so they have a high opinion of themselves, and they think that, what they're doing is good enough, when in reality, it is just not. So we have to do a better job as educators to get students ready, through career readiness and through career pathways. I've talked about this statistic. This is a little bit different in that as of June 2019, 41% of recent college grads were working at a job that didn't require a college degree. We know for a fact that almost half of the college graduates walking around today, no matter what age, they're in a job where they either didn't need their bachelor's degree or they're not using it. A great example just happened to me a few days ago. My Uber driver, when I was in Tennessee for the Tennessee School Counselor Conference, she had a master's degree, but she's driving an Uber, and then she's got a business started on the side with her boyfriend. Why? She said she could make more money that way than in her corporate job that she got her bachelor's and master's degree for. She said, I don't regret getting my degree, but really I don't need it. I'm not using it. And, I probably should have chosen a better route. So that's just one example. I can guarantee you there are people working in your local Walmarts that are that may have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or higher, maybe, who knows? That's sad. They put in a lot of time, effort, money to get this degree only to find out they didn't need it in the first place. That's why career readiness, career pathways is so important, and why it's so important for educators to consider this. Reasons to consider a post-secondary trade school. Well, first of all, we have to stop looking at it as a second-rate education. You know, what's the one question we ask every little kid? What do you want to be when you grow up? Why do we stop asking them that question? Why do we keep asking that right until they graduate from high school? We've got to keep asking, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? What are you good at? And then recognize it for what it is, rather than saying, oh gosh, you know, that's nice. You want to be a fireman. Well, you know, that's cute and funny and all that, but you won't make any money. And, you know, it's just, you ought to be a doctor or be a veterinarian, be something where you can make a lot of money. Right. And so we look at this as like plan B. We have to remember that what these kids want to do is their plan A. We have to treat it that way. And remember, if you want to please the parents, which is difficult to do, but recognize their kids for what they want to be just as much as you recognize the other kids. We do special ceremonies for people that are going into the military, rightfully so. We do special scholarship times for people going into the colleges and universities, you know, Rhodes Scholars or full ride scholarship here, or to go play football somewhere, go play basketball. Oh, that's all wonderful. But if we want to give somebody a scholarship or recognize them for going to a trade school to learn how to work on a car or how to work on a motorcycle, it's like, well, oh, that's nice. Next, you know, we're not giving them their due diligence there on that either. So we have to remember, all kids are going to choose a career pathway. We have to support it equally, no matter what that is. When you look on this page, you see everything that we do at UTI. These are what we call essential industries, because we can't live without these. You hop in your car every day and drive to school or drive to work, wherever it is that you're going, but you don't think one thing about it other than putting gas in it, maybe getting the oil changed every once in a while too, but you don't think anything until it breaks down. Then all of a sudden, oh, I need a technician. You know, then it becomes very important. Plumber. We don't think about a plumber until the toilet doesn't flush. Then all of a sudden, it's very important to us. I can go on and on here, but we need all these people, and we have a severe shortage of them. You know, I'm doing work at my house right now. I had some work done yesterday in plumbing like that. The two guys that worked on my plumbing were 80 and 77 years old. Now, they're in great shape for their age and did a fantastic job. But man, 80 and 77 years old, that is crazy. We have got to get people in this, or we're going to have even a more severe shortage in the very near future. We have to address this now. You know, we teach in 3 categories: transportation, energy, and manufacturing. For the longest time, we were just a transportation school: auto, diesel, collision, motorcycle, marine, NASCAR, CNC, and welding. That's what we did. But now with the acquisition of MIAT as part of our program, we're now moved into industrial maintenance, wind and solar energy, HVAC, robotics, non-destructive testing. So we've picked up all these others: aviation, avionics. We picked up these other career fields that we didn't have before. So that's expanded our offerings, but we're doing it to meet the demands of the economy right now. And all of those areas that I named are in high demand. We need technicians in those areas. If you recall, if you were ever on my webinars before, last year I talked a lot about the Ignite Worldwide, getting more girls involved in STEM careers. As I told you earlier in the webinar, about 27% of the STEM careers are filled by women. That's not enough. Over 50% of the population are female. So we have to have more people in the STEM careers. We partnered with Ignite Worldwide, started in Seattle, Washington by Kathy Rajveller. She's the executive director. And that the purpose of it was to get more girls involved in STEM careers. When we found out about this, we thought, well, we want to get involved with them too, because we have a real problem here at UTI. As I said earlier, only 4% of our population are female. We have got to get more girls here into school. And not only at UTI, but other schools too. We've got to get them involved there. So what we started doing last year with a huge success was the Women in STEM Skilled Trades Conferences. So I talked about them a lot last year. So now we'll take a look at what happened. We hosted 8 live trade conferences for women in STEM, had over 1,000 high school girls at these. And they got to attend a campus, tour the campus, see what it's like to visit a true STEM school and be around that. The events were featured on social media. We had them on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all these areas. We also hosted one virtual Women in STEM Skilled Trades Conference. We had over 200 high school girls there, and 8 high schools participated. So huge success. We've just seen a lot of people, coming, a lot of girls wanting to come into this program. Their mantra, as I mentioned earlier, you can't be what you can't see. That's what we did with these conferences. We wanted to show these girls what is out there available to them, what they can do, what they didn't know was out there. I'm putting this one up here because we were actually given the ACCSC award for community service. ACCSC is our accrediting body, and it's a huge honor. We're the only post-secondary school that was recognized for this. And it was because of our STEM event that we held at the Mooresville campus. Of course, the others figured in too, but specifically the one that we had in Mooresville. It was October 13th, 2021, just about a year ago. We had 115 guests there, 115 girls. As you can see in the picture, they're focused, they're into it. Look at them over there, in our pit crew class. That's pretty cool to see what they're doing. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, you see the girls doing an activity, got their phones out doing some work, got their pad folios there that we give each one of them. And then if you look in the upper left-hand corner, you see our STEM panelists are there too, the women in STEM that we bring into these events for the girls to question. The reason why we bring these women in there is they're influencers. These girls, as I said, you can't be what you can't see. So we want to show them women in STEM. So you can see Kristen Labonte, president founder of Breaking Limits, Sophie Fox, CEO of Women in Wheels, Brooke Ulrich, regional facilities and equipment manager for the Home Depot. She has now moved on to a new position, also in the STEM fields. Madison Conrad with Roush Yates, leading engine builder in the world, right next door to our NTI campus. And then Jennifer Lefevre, Vice President Manufacturing at Roush Yates Manufacturing Solutions. These are just a few of the women that we've had involved. We get high-level women in this, and these girls can ask them questions. They're not rocket science questions. It's like, hey, were you scared? Did you get any encouragement? Did people make fun of you? What advice would you give me to do this? It's pretty amazing how the girls really responded to these women and what they had to offer. We always ask for feedback at the end of these, and it was really cool to get this one. It says, I like watching cars go fast, but wow, today I couldn't stop smiling. I was intrigued with everything. I had no idea how I would start a job in this career. Now, all I can think of is to apply here after high school. That was one girl right there. It's just exciting to see. We had other stories as well of girls saying, I had no idea I could do this. I didn't know I was allowed to. I mean, bring tears to your eyes on some of the stories, but they don't know what they don't know. And so it's up to us to make sure that we're giving them the same opportunities as we are the guys. One of the things that I always talk about is what to look for in a career school, in a trade school, because there are many out there. UTI is just one of several. I like to think we're the best, but I'm paid to say that. But a lot of it has to do with what kind of industry partners do they have? Because let's face it, if you're going to go to school and spend all this time and energy to get this degree or get this diploma or get this certificate, don't you want to have a payoff? Don't you want to have, a career that you're moving to? That's why these alliances with these manufacturers are so important. We have alliances with over 35 partners, and these are strong, stable companies. For instance, Fent in the lower right-hand corner there, we started that with them a year ago, and they actually offer manufacturer-specific training that they pay for. and it goes to our Lisle campus, which is the exclusive training spot there. And we'll be doing a big FFA booth with them in Indianapolis here later in October. And it shows people how industry and education partner with each other. So you have to look for these industry relationships. They are so important. And if those aren't there, you might want to look for another school. Because once again, we don't feel like we're done at UTI until we have got them through school and then help them to get employed. That is huge in the completion of the student. I don't know about you, but we have a difficult time getting kids to fill out scholarships. And I'm sure you all do too. Every time when I speak at a counselor conference or an event, I always get chuckles and laughs when I ask how they do that. One of the things that we do is called TRIP, Tuition Reimbursement Incentive Program. This is paying off huge dividends. We have hundreds of employers out there that actually, when they hire one of our graduates, will help them to pay off their student loans. They'll help them with relocation, all these other things. They actually offer programs from $10,000 to $50,000. It's a lot of money that they're willing to invest into an employee. But it's worth it to them because they need technicians so bad. And now it's getting competitive where one offers this and say, well, I'm going to offer this, because they're all after the same technicians. So they have to make their dealership or their company or whatever look the best. So this has been a huge program for us to improve graduation and to help with employment. There is catch. Not every kid's going to get this. You got to work hard while you're in school. You know, we want to have good professionalism. We're going to grade on it. Attendance. Why would a dealership want you if you only showed up to school half the time? You're probably going to show up to work half the time. They don't want that. So they're going to look for all these things. If you're willing to put in the time and the effort, you know, the dividends are huge. But once again, you've got to be willing to do that. Here are our locations across the country. As Lee said earlier, we have 16 locations nationwide. We have 2 new campuses, one in Austin, Texas. We have another one in Miramar, Florida. We also have our 2 MIAT campuses in Canton, Michigan, and down in Houston, Texas. So we're really excited about these. What this does, this gives us a nationwide presence so that, you know, you walk into a dealership and you say, I went to school at UTI, they're going to know who that is. They're going to recognize us. And we're going to be adding more campuses. As you know, students don't want to leave home and go to school. So we're trying to bring campuses closer to them. So you can see, you can find, we have housing at all of our locations too, except one. And we help with housing grants, with relocation grants and other ways to help students to get their education started. So why UTI? We offer the non-baccalaureate opportunities. Our programs are 7 months to 2 years, depending upon what program you're going to do. Active project-based learning, because that's what a lot of kids learning by doing. Emphasis on professionalism, I already mentioned that. History of graduate success. We have over 220,000 graduates. We're very proud of that, and we want to show them off. And plus, it's great for their peers to hear from them because they're going to listen to them and believe them. Our graduation rate, the average graduation rate in the United States is 48%. We hover in the mid to upper 60s to up to 70% with our graduation rate. So that's huge. Placement rate, we say we place 4 out of 5 of our graduates. Actually, that rate is a little bit higher than that, but we think it's very important to get our students employed. Title IV, we are Title IV funded. So you will be asked to do a FAFSA so that we can see what you're going to qualify for in financial aid. We do offer scholarships and grants over $15 million. And we have the national presence already mentioned, and then the industry relationships that I also already mentioned too. And then finally, this is my contact information. I would appreciate if you would reach out to me with any comments or questions you may have. This is my email address. You can follow me on Instagram. I'd love to have you follow, and I'll follow you. I try to do that with school counselors all over the country. And then, of course, that's my phone number. However, you know you've really made it in life when you have your own QR code. So there's my QR code. And so feel free to take a picture of that. And that way you can reach to me that way. So anyway, thanks for spending about 30 minutes of your afternoon with me. I know you're busy people. I get that. So I do appreciate you taking some time, and hopefully you got a few gems that you can use in your school districts. And please don't hesitate to reach out and ask me any questions or comment on what you heard today. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Coyle. And he has made it. I can attest to that. Now we are going to open this up for the Q&A portion of this presentation. So if you have a question for either myself or Dr. Coyle, please feel free to type it in the Q&A feature or the chat feature. Dr. Coyle, it does look like a question has come in, and I think you may have answered this, but are there GPA requirements in order to attend Universal Technical Institute?
No, they're not. That's a very good question. And that what we base you can't just come to UTI. You have to be invited. And that's through a personal interview with the student and their family and extended family. Whoever wants to be there, that's fine. But we want to make sure that not only is the student a good fit for us, but that we're also a good fit for them. Really, grade point average doesn't figure in much because these type of students, it's usually C, D, C, C, A. And you go, wow, what's those A's? That's their shop classes. That's their hands-on classes. And we know that. So we would lose a lot of good students if we based off grade point average.
Okay. And the second question, I believe you answered this as well, but this comes from a counselor from the Michigan area that wants to know if you offer housing at the Lisle, Illinois campus location.
We absolutely do. Now our housing is a little different. It's not dorms. They're apartments that we lease. And each student has their own lease. So they're not responsible. If somebody else moves out or whatever, they're not stuck with their bill. They have their own lease, and the lease will match their program. So if their program is 12 months, their lease is 12 months. So they don't have to pay extra. If their program is 7 months, they only pay for 7 months. So that way they don't have to spend money unnecessarily. I also would add in there too that we offer assistance to help them get part-time jobs while they're in school to help them to pay for some of their expenses. And while we're on the subject of Lisle, real quickly, because I failed to mention this in the last webinar, we're having a national open house, and that will include the Lisle campus on October 12th. So be sure to come out and see us.
Oh, awesome. Okay, great. Okay. The last question, Dr. Coyle, we get all the time, which has to do with the difference between Universal Technical Institute and community colleges. Can you sort of talk to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, the biggest difference is me. I'm here. No, just joking. But I get that question all the time. And, the first thing I say is we're not the same as a community college. Oftentimes, educators lump us in together like that. Nothing wrong with community colleges. They serve their purpose. We serve ours. We're not training students for Jiffy Lube. We're preparing students, as I showed you there earlier, to go to work for Mercedes-Benz, BMW, all these kinds. So the manufacturer alliances that we have more than any other school. Some schools may have 1, 2, if they have any. We have over 35. And so it gives students a lot more opportunities. And then the other part, I know there's a lot of programs in various states that, they can go to college free. That's not working. In Missouri, where I live, we have the A+ program, and yet the graduation rate in those programs is like about 28%. They don't have any skin in the game, so they don't go. That's why we found the TRIP program is huge. It gives students a chance to get their education paid for, but they have to earn it. It's not just handed to them. So really, those are the biggest differences.
Okay, great. All right, so before closing, I just want to mention a few house cleaning items here. Number one, we have recorded this session, and I will be sending you all a recorded version of this presentation, likely tomorrow morning. We'll also be placing this session on our website, which again is www.imagine-america.org. There is a quick follow-up survey when you leave this meeting. If you wouldn't mind providing us with some feedback, that would be very much appreciated. We always like to hear from our counselors on, how we're doing on these presentations, and to see if there's anything maybe that we had missed, as we are going to be doing this throughout the country as the fall continues. I also want to thank Dr. Coyle for sharing with us today's presentation, and encourage you to contact him directly with any future questions you may have. And I will include his contact information, if you haven't scanned the QR code, in the email that I send out to you with the recording tomorrow morning. But on behalf of Imagine America, Dr. Coyle and myself, I want to thank you and wish you a great rest of your day. Goodbye.